Hello, so in this tutorial I'll teach you how to create an Excel report based in some records list that we get from the database. So there are two ways of doing this. So we can do this through blocks or directly in the page level. So first thing to do, let's log in our framework, choosing the workspace and the corresponding projects. And currently we have here an empty project. Well, we don't have any business logic rules. Basically it is an empty project. So as an empty project we have our default page, which is the index page, so we can just click in it, and we have our default templates too in the left side. So after we click in the page, we can see our design editor of the page. Currently the default template that is selected, it is a default, which is this one. So we want to change this to the Ajax template, well, which just have one region. So from here, what we want to do, we want to go to the modules, to find the form module, to drop it to the content region, and create here our workflow, which basically will get some items from the database and then will show them in an Excel way. So first thing to do is to add an action, get the correspondent results from the database. We will use this action, but instead of using this, we could call some business logic service or some iBatish rule or some Hibernate rule. So there are multiple ways of getting the data from the database. So we saw this, and I teach you this in the previous tutorial. So for the sake of this tutorial, what I want to show you here is how to create Excel reports. That's it. So it doesn't really matter the way to get the data from the database. So we'll just do it the faster way, which is with this guy here. Okay, so I'll just get basically a list of schools. Okay, so first section is done, so we just create our variable called schools, and we add a second action, which will be list report, where basically in here we have three types of reports that we can create, and what we want to print, to display, is an Excel report. So we just click Excel, we type the document name, which could be Excel with schools. This is just an example. And then in here we put the variables from school. So we go here, existing variables, and we choose this guy here, update. Okay, perfect. And we just save this block. Automatically this block is saved in the content region, and we save the page, and by default, if we execute this page here, we should see the report. It's downloaded by default. So if we open our Excel, we can see that we have the lists that we got from the database. So this is one way of doing this, through the blocks. So let's just close this, and going back to our editor, to our page editor. So what we did was we create a block using the form module, which basically gets some data from the database and then print it in a report list way. Another way of doing it is, instead of creating a block list, is directly from the page level. We have something here which are the resources, where we can basically do the same thing. So we can get directly here the data from the database. We can call it from a business logic layer or a data access rule, or we can just get it directly as we are doing now, and basically do the same thing that we did previously when we were creating the block. And in here we create a second action, which basically is the list report. We choose Excel, we choose here the name, schools, in page, just an example. That was the name of the Excel file. In here it's the variable schools, and we already have the two actions here. Now the difference is that in here we need to give a name where that lists. So basically this report will print some code, and we need to put this code in a variable. So let's just put here, call it this variable report. So the report variable will contain the corresponding code of the lists. Okay, so now how can I print this report variable in here? So basically it's very simple. We just click in the correspondent region and we do # symbol, and between the # symbols we just type resource and brackets. Inside of brackets we put the name of our variable, which is report. So every time that the system see # resource brackets open brackets and then some variable, he knows that he needs to replace this specific string with the corresponding code inside of this variable, and we just save this. So if we print again this page, we should see exactly the same thing that we saw before, which is an Excel report file. So let's just do this. So we just preview the page and we already have here schools in page. We click it, and as you can see we have a list of schools. And that's it. Basically two different ways of getting the same result. So the first way was through the blocks, where we created the block based in the for module, where we were creating our sequential action, and the other way was directly through the pages, where we create our sequential actions in the resource and then we print the resources directly in the page, in the correspondent region of the template in the page. There is a third way of doing this, which is through low codes too. After we create this file here, so we can just go to the code workspace, and in the code workspace we go to our diagram editor, so the local diagram, and if we click it, automatically we can see the local diagram that was generated automatically based in that code. So basically we just needed to replicate this same diagram in local to achieve the same action, to achieve the same report. Is exactly, so it's like three ways of doing the same thing. First through the blocks, second through the pages, and third through low code. That's it. Thank you very much.